On this week's Political Figure episode, we finally have the answer to what Regina did after they gave up on making more episodes of Once. Minnesota's second, Miss Angie Craig. This representative is a tad bit more obscure and junior than I would normally do in this series, but I've noticed that this commenter has requested this video a few times and I aim to please. I'm sorry to absolutely everybody else who's asked for stuff that I haven't gotten to yet. I get a ton of requests and these videos are far and away the most work of any videos I do on this platform. So I apologize, I do my best. I do see your guys' comments. I save them all to go back and hopefully do a video on them one day. So please don't ever take it personally if I don't do your guys's or I haven't gotten to them yet. I appreciate every single person who watches these videos and makes requests so I can do more of them. All right, Angela Dawn Craig was born February 14th, 1972 in Arkansas, which to this day I'm still not entirely convinced is a real place. She graduated from Nettleton High School in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and got a degree in journalism from the University of Memphis. She then became a full-time journalist. She lived in London from 2002 to 2005, and then in 2005 she accepted a job in human resources at St. Jude Medical, which brought her to the great state of Minnesota. She did that for over a decade, and then in 2016, she's like, I'm looking for something new to do. How about politics? And so she ran for the U.S. House of Representatives in Minnesota's 2nd District against Jason Lewis, who is a moron, and she lost. But since Jason Lewis was just a discount aisle Dollar Tree Rush Limbaugh, he kept saying stupid shit while he was in office. Like welfare programs are worse than Jim Crow because it makes the blacks addicted to the government. He said that the whites are the real victims of racial violence, and when people criticized his opposition to gay marriage by saying if you don't like gay marriage, don't get gay married, just don't tell other people what they can and can't do in their personal lives if it doesn't affect you, his airtight rebuttal to that argument was, how does somebody else owning a slave affect you? If you don't want to own a slave, don't own one, but don't tell other people what they can't do, because a consensual relationship between two adults is definitely totally exactly the same as one human being owning another human being. Checkmate, libs. So when Angie Craig ran again in 2018, everybody was astonished by his defeat. The irony was also just because Angie Craig is a lesbian. In fact, Lewis sucked so bad that it made her the first Democrat to represent the district since it was redistricted in 2003, which made the Minnesota GOP not very happy. So their solution to try and defeat her in 2020 was to bribe Adam Weeks, a member of the Legalize Marijuana Now party, to run in the election as a third-party progressive candidate to draw votes away from her. But the Minnesota GOP is broke. So their bribe was for $15,000, which is pretty pathetic. However, he was the nominee for the Legalize Marijuana Now party, so likely he was also broke, considering he accepted that pathetic bribe. And it didn't take us long to learn what he spent his $15,000 on, because he OD'd in September, before the election. So the Minnesota GOP's master plan fell just a little bit short, and addiction and overdose is absolutely horrible, nothing to really joke about, and an issue we need to address in this country. But the karma of this particular situation is hard to not appreciate, just a little bit. Now, the commenter that requested this video kept saying that Angie is the most bipartisan member of Congress. I was unable to substantiate that claim. From everything I can see, she ranks 114th, which, you know, there's 435 members of Congress, so she's in the upper percentile, I guess. But she voted with Trump's agenda 5.5% of the time when he was in office, and she has voted with Biden's agenda 100% of the time. The distinction of most bipartisan member of Congress actually goes to a Republican, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. That said, Angie has done some good stuff in Congress. She introduced a bill that passed the House that would cap insulin prices at $35 per month. She was instrumental in budget negotiations when the Republican extremists were working on firing their speaker for, you know, doing his job. And while they were doing that, my favorite thing that she's done is she introduced the McCarthy Act, which was an acronym, nothing to do with the speaker. It stood for My Constituents Cannot Afford Rebellious Tantrums, Handle Your Shutdown Act. The bill would have withheld pay for members of Congress for every day that the government is shut down. And its energy was on point. That brings us to where we are now. As always, with most of our members in the Democratic Party, I do wish that she was a tad bit more progressive. That said, I think she's done a great job. I think she's been really proactive in Congress, considering how new she is. And all y'all in Minnesota 2nd, I think you should re-elect her again this year.